Before the video starts, just a quick heads up. What you're about to watch is a video that I made several months ago, before I upgraded to a new microphone and audio interface. That's why the audio might sound a bit worse than what you're hearing right now. So yeah, enjoy the video. Side content or side missions in any video game could be something you either love or hate. A game that nails side content perfectly is The Witcher 3. Another great example is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. But with how great side content can be, and with so many Assassin's Creed games right now, the quality of the side content varies greatly from game to game. Over a year ago, I made a video that covered the worst main missions in each Assassin's Creed game, so I thought why not follow it up a year later, which yes, I know is very late, with a video dedicated to the worst side content from each Assassin's Creed game. I know the title said side mission, but that's just to structure it to be easier on the eye. Now, when I say side missions, I'm not talking just about a specific side quest that you can find by talking to an NPC. That's way too basic to make a video about. I'm talking about side content that makes up a relatively chunky part of your experience, such as the Nostradamus enigmas in Assassin's Creed Unity, Syndicate's terrible carriage races, or Assassin's Creed Valhalla's river raids. Those are the types of side content I'm referring to. Oh, and this is random, but I've hidden an image of Naue from Assassin's Creed Shadows throughout this entire video. If you find the image, then congratulations, you win a whopping $7.8 billion. Anyway, if you do enjoy this video, do consider hitting that subscribe button, and without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's start off with the original Assassin's Creed, which goddamn, it's been that long? 2007? Now, funnily enough, the side content in this game is very limited, given that this is number 1, the first Assassin's Creed game, so it's more of a blueprint, and number 2, a very grounded and linear style game. In fact, here's a fun fact for you. Originally, this game was not going to contain any side content at all, but the actual CEO's child played the game, and that child said it was boring because there was nothing to do inside of it, so they added side content last minute. And yes, that is a real story. Now, for the worst piece of side content in this game, well, surely that has to be collecting the flags throughout this entire game. In fact, there's a total of 420 flags to collect, which is just absurd. You know, for such a small game that is not even your traditional open world compared to the rest of the series, 420 is a number you'd expect in a game like Assassin's Creed Odyssey or Valhalla. It's pretty much a meme because even the creator of Assassin's Creed 1 even said that collecting these flags was intended to be a waste of your time, and nobody should even go after them. To add on to why it's a meme, well, there's 100 flags in the Kingdom area, 100 in Acre, another 100 in Jerusalem, 100 more in Damascus, and even 20 in Masyav. That equals to 420 flags, or 420. There is also 60 Templar Knights to assassinate in this game, and 9 main Templar targets, which equals to 69. So we've got 420 and 69. Numbers that are, let's just say, infamous on the internet for entirely different reasons. The fact that the most tedious piece of side content in Assassin's Creed 1 somehow ends up with these numbers is just hilarious. Oh, and your reward for doing all of this is pretty much nothing. There is no story behind these flags, no lore reasons, no meaningful rewards, just the satisfaction of obtaining pointless things, I guess. So yeah, the original Assassin's Creed game lacks in side content, but the one piece of side content it does have is just a pain in the ass. Next up, we have Assassin's Creed 2, which is often praised for being a massive improvement over the original game. The sequel gave us a more colourful world, a more engaging story, and a ton of, I guess, side content to keep us entertained. Well, kind of. Not all of the side content in this game is even decent. In fact, the best piece of side content, which is not even the focus of this video, is the Assassin Tombs, I guess. But for the worst, enter the courier assignments, or courier missions. These missions are without a doubt some of the most pointless and even frustrating missions at times. So what exactly are the courier assignments? Well, they're essentially time-based delivery missions where you run from point A to point B, handing off letters to various NPCs. It sounds pretty simple, right? Well, the problem is they feel like filler content that serves no purpose other than to pad out the game's playtime. They take the elegance of Ezio's parkour and combat skills and reduce them to being Florence's most overqualified mailman. The missions involve running around Renaissance Italy to deliver letters within a strict time limit. First off, they disrupt the flow of the game. When I play Assassin's Creed 2, I want to feel like a true assassin, you know, scaling buildings, assassinating targets with style, but when you're suddenly tasked with delivering love letters and notes, all that momentum grinds to a halt. The mission feels like a massive step backwards, as you dodge clueless NPCs and sidestep guards who are constantly looking for any excuse to chase you down. One wrong move and you're suddenly in a random ass fight or running for your life, which just adds some unnecessary stress to these already frustrating missions. Another issue is that the courier assignments offer virtually no reward. You'd expect something at least mildly satisfying for wasting your time, right? Maybe a decent piece of equipment or something like that. But nope, all you get is a handful of coins that barely make a dent in your ever-growing wealth, especially since money in Assassin's Creed 2 becomes laughably easy to accumulate through your villa upgrades. So in the grand scheme of things, completing these missions feels utterly pointless. I feel like going for achievements or trophies is the only positive thing about this piece of side content. Next up we have Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and oh boy, do we have another flag collecting nightmare on our hands. If you thought Assassin's Creed 1's 420 flags were bad, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood takes a slightly less painful but still completely pointless approach with the Borgia flags. So in total, there are 101 flags scattered throughout Rome, including the city itself and hidden within the Romulus layers. Now at first it might not seem as absurd as Assassin's Creed 1, but to me it's just as tedious. The problem with these flags is that much like Assassin's Creed 1, there is no narrative tied to them. You're not uncovering some secret, you're not learning about the Borgia family, and you're definitely not getting anything exciting in return. The only reward for collecting them all is the Borgia cape, which makes ezio permanently anonymous, except it's functionally identical to the Auditore cape, which you can get by simply restoring Rome's districts instead of chasing down collectibles. So why bother? The flags are also frustrating because of their placement. Some are hidden in obscure, hard to reach locations, requiring you to either spend hours searching, or just cave in and buy the maps from the art dealers. But even with the maps, collecting them feels like busy work. And to me, the worst part was, let's say you miss some of them in the Romulus layers. You have to replay the entire memory sequence just to grab them, which is just unnecessary padding. Now, if there was some kind of cool cutscene or reward, maybe a unique weapon, it could have been worth it, but no, all you get is an achievement, a cape you don't need, and the knowledge that you wasted hours of your life picking up glorified pieces of cloth. Ubisoft at least improved on this in later games, but Assassin's Creed Brotherhood's Borgia flags remain a prime example of side content done wrong. Now this one is a bit strange because I did not realize that there was a pretty sizable fanbase for this side content, and that is the den defense in Assassin's Creed Revelations. Now do bear in mind that this is just my opinion, so please don't get triggered. So if you've ever played Revelations, chances are you either ignored it completely after the tutorial, or you were forced to suffer through it multiple times due to high notoriety. Either way, it's one of the most out of place mechanics in the entire series by far, and even if it was added back now, it would still be out of place. So what exactly is the den defense? Well, it's Ubisoft's horrendous attempt at a tower defense minigame where Ezio is inexplicably stuck on a rooftop barking orders at his recruits while Byzantine Templars march up the street with siege weaponry. You place barricades, assign archers and riflemen, and use a cannon strike when things get dicey. In theory, it's a unique addition, but in practice, it's frustrating, boring, and feels completely unnecessary. The biggest problem for me with den defense is how randomly it can trigger. If you let your notoriety get too high and don't assign a master assassin to a den, the Templars will attack you. And you better pray that you don't get the tank enemy, because that thing will steamroll your defenses like the game just decided you weren't allowed to win. Even worse, I'm pretty sure there's people that have never even wanted to engage with this mechanic, yet found themselves dragged into it multiple times because notoriety in Revelations builds up faster than you can lower it. Now to be fair, there's a way to completely avoid it. Assign master assassins to every den. This permanently prevents den defense from ever happening again. But if you don't know that on your first playthrough, then you're stuck playing a mini game that feels like it belongs in a completely different game. And for what reward? Nothing. Ubisoft clearly realized their mistake, because they never brought it back in any future Assassin's Creed game, and for good reason. And now we come to Assassin's Creed 3, and one of the most frustrating collectibles in the entire series, the peg leg trinkets. Now before I start complaining, let me just say that I actually love the Captain Kidd missions. Exploring Fort Walcott, Oak Island, and the shipwrecks felt like some of the best side content in this series hands down. But before you get to any of that, you have to track down 24 peg leg trinkets scattered across Boston, the frontier, and the homestead, and let me tell you, it's an absolute pain in the ass. The biggest problem for me was that these things are just annoying to find. Assassin's Creed 3's map is not the easiest to navigate, especially in the frontier, where trinkets are tucked away in caves, on cliffs, and behind waterfalls. Some require platforming through awkward terrain, and others are placed in random locations that feel deliberately inconvenient. And if you think buying the map from the general store is an instant solution, then think again. The trinkets won't even appear on your map until you synchronize it at a viewpoint nearby. That means you could have already bought the map and still have no clue where your last few trinkets are unless you stumble upon them or sync the right area. Now on top of that, the reward system feels backwards. You know, you would think the Captain Kid missions would unlock as you find trinkets naturally, but no. You have to gather a specific number before each mission unlocks, forcing you into a collectathon before you get to the good part. It completely kills the pacing, and it makes what should be an exciting treasure hunt feel like a chore. At least the reward at the end is very cool. You get Captain Kid's outfit and a Shard of Eden that deflects bullets, which is actually one of the best pieces of Eden in the series. So yeah, the Captain Kid missions, great. The peg leg trinkets, a tedious scavenger hunt that feels like Ubisoft just wanted to waste your time. I'm not too sure if this is a hot take or not, but Kenway's fleet in Assassin's Creed Black Flag is one of those mechanics that sounds good on paper, but ends up feeling like an unnecessary chore. It's Ubisoft's poor attempt trying to bring in a mobile-style resource management system into an open-world pirate game, and the result is a feature that's not terrible, but definitely frustrating if you're aiming for 100% completion. Now, the actual idea is simple, to be fair. When you board and capture enemy ships, instead of scrapping them for resources or adding them to your fleet, you can send them off to complete missions through Kenway's fleet. Hey, that kind of rhymed. These missions bring in money, clear dangerous trade routes, and sometimes even unlock buried treasure maps or ship cosmetics. But for me, the problem lies in how it all happens in real time, meaning some missions take literal days to finish. Well, unless you have friends helping you speed them up, which at this point is basically impossible, since the multiplayer side of this game is long dead, or at least I think it is. And that is where the real issue comes in. If this Kenway fleet system was just a passive way to make some extra reels, then it wouldn't be so bad. But some elite ship upgrades and treasure maps are locked behind it. If you want the best gear in the game, you have to deal with this slow, clunky system, watching timers tick down while you're trying to enjoy the rest of the game. It's the kind of mechanic that feels like it belongs in a free-to-play mobile spin-off, not in a fast-paced pirate adventure, which, thinking of it now, that sounds exactly like Assassin's Creed Pirates. That was the perfect game for this. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the system is completely broken on PC, meaning anybody replaying the game right now might find themselves locked out of content entirely. Who remembers the assassin interception side content in Assassin's Creed Rogue? Because I can barely remember them myself. That's how memorable they were. These assassin interception missions are a cool idea on paper, just like many other things in this franchise. They fit perfectly with the game's whole Templars are not the bad guys angle, but in practice they're just annoying as hell. Now, instead of hunting down targets like a typical assassin or Templar, I guess, you're playing defense, trying to stop assassinations before they happen. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a fresh take, but like a lot of Assassin's Creed Rogue, it comes with its fair share of frustrating mechanics. It all starts with a pigeon coop. You grab the message, get the details, and rush off to stop a hit once it goes down, or rather before it goes down. It sounds relatively simple, but it's kind of not at the same time. The second you start, the game will toss everything at you at once. You have to track down the target, find the hidden assassins with eagle vision, and then take them all out, all whilst dealing with surprise stalkers waiting to stab you in the back. Oh, and there's a timer running the whole time, just to make things extra stressful. And these assassins don't really fight fair. They come in packs, sometimes 7 or more at once, which makes it feel like the literal assassin Brotherhood is just throwing bodies at the problem. It's a weird contrast to the precise, calculated assassinations we're used to seeing in the series. It also raises some questions, like, is Achilles' Brotherhood so desperate that they have to send an entire squad just to kill a merchant or a fisherman? It pretty much makes them look incompetent. If you want to get through these missions without pulling your hair out, the best move is to prepare ahead of time. Before you even start, clear out any guards or annoying enemies in the area. The game will still spawn a few enemies when the mission kicks off, but at least you won't have to deal with unnecessary distractions. Now, the main reason to do these is for the Templar Enforcer outfit, which looks pretty cool, as do most outfits in this game do. But outside of that, they mostly serve as another way for Assassin's Creed Rogue to hammer home the idea that the assassins are the bad guys. And honestly, sometimes it feels like the game is trying too hard to make them look bad. The Nostradamus enigmas in Assassin's Creed Unity are either one of the coolest side quests in the game or an absolute nightmare, depending on how much you like the riddles. These are a series of 18 puzzles scattered across Paris, each containing 3 or 4 cryptic clues that lead you to hidden symbols. If you manage to solve all of them, you unlock the Thomas the Cornelian Master Assassin outfit, which to be fair looks pretty cool on Arno. The idea behind these enigmas is great, using historical knowledge and the in-game database entries to solve riddles that lead to real-world locations in Paris. But the thing that annoyed me was it was easy to get completely lost. The game does not hold your hand at all, so unless you're already familiar with Parisian landmarks or you've been keeping up with the database entries, you're basically left to wander around hoping to stumble across something. And given how vague some of the riddles are in this game, I feel like a lot of people just end up looking up the solutions online. I mean, I know I did. The process is the same for each enigma. You find the starting point on the map, read the first riddle, and try to figure out which landmark it's referring to. Once you reach that spot, you'll find a hidden symbol that gives you the next riddle. Repeat this a few times and you'll eventually find the final symbol. Now, to be honest, the biggest issue is that the riddles are widely inconsistent. Some are fairly straightforward if you have the right database entries, while others feel like they require a literal historical degree to solve. It's one of those side activities that's fun if you're into it, but otherwise you'll probably just Google the answers and move on. And that's really all there is to it. Okay, now let's talk about Assassin's Creed Syndicate's carriage races, which is possibly the most infuriating thing Ubisoft has ever tossed into a game. Well, actually a lot of things from them are infuriating. Now, I actually don't mind Syndicate that much. It's got a very interesting setting, the protagonists are pretty fun, and I guess yeah, that's pretty much it. But these races, they make me want to toss my controller across the room. So the idea behind them is simple. Victorian London has a ton of horse-drawn carriages, so naturally somebody at Ubisoft thought, hey, let's add some street racing. And in theory, it could have worked. But in practice, it's a chaotic mess of rubber banding AI, narrow streets and carriages that handle like drunken shopping carts. The biggest issue that I had with this side content is the rubber banding, which was just ridiculous. You could be miles ahead, absolutely dominating the race, and out of nowhere, an AI opponent will teleport right next to you. It does not matter how well you drive, because the game is determined to keep things competitive. And then there is the city itself. The streets of London are way too cramped for high-speed racing, so you'll constantly crash into walls, lampposts, random NPCs, or even worse, other carriages. And let's not forget the enemy AI. These racers don't just want to win. For some strange fucking reason, they want to kill you. They'll ram your carriage like they're playing Burnout Paradise, sending you spiraling into incoming traffic. At least the triathlons and exotic races were fun, but those lap races, absolute pain in the ass. I don't care what reward they give. You couldn't pay me to do those again. Well, maybe you can. Assassin's Creed Origins is a game I love, but I'll be honest, I forgot this even existed. Now the thing with Origins is the side content was quite fun, or at least it was to me, so naturally finding something that I hated for this video was quite hard. But you know, if I had to nitpick something, I guess it would be the papyrus puzzles, but then again, these weren't even that bad. On paper, they're actually a pretty cool idea. You find a cryptic clue hidden in temples or settlements and it leads you to a piece of rare loot in some obscure location. Unlike traditional fetch quests, these puzzles encourage exploration and actually reward you with legendary weapons. That sounds great, right? Well, there is one problem, I guess. I just use the internet to find the loot because my brain is not that big. Also, I think if you submit these before you're level 40 or something, it does not benefit you properly. So pretty much I regret not submitting all these papyrus puzzles once I was level 40, because then I'd receive a current level item instead of something lower. But I don't know. Origins is a great game, and finding a piece of side content to dislike is hard. So let's just move on. I remember before Assassin's Creed Odyssey came out, or was it during its release, I'm not too sure, but I remember that conquest battles were supposed to be this grand, large-scale war mechanic where you felt like a very important person in the Peloponnesian War. Instead, they ended up feeling like chaotic, repetitive brawls with little depth or actual strategy. One of the biggest problems is that your team does not really do anything, whether you're fighting for Sparta or Athens. Your side soldiers are essentially just background noise. They do not contribute meaningfully to the battle, which makes it feel like you're single-handedly responsible for winning the entire war. Instead of an actual war between two factions, it's just you versus a seemingly endless wave of enemies, which defeats the whole purpose of a large-scale battlefield. Then there's the issue of mercenaries. Every single battle seems to have at least one high-level mercenary on the enemy side, and these fights can take forever. While captains and lieutenants are manageable, mercenaries often have bloated health bars and resist ridiculous amounts of damage. If you get stuck fighting one, you're essentially wasting time while the battle rages on around you. And let's talk about how samey the battles feel. There is no variation, just a messy mashup of random soldiers running around while you hunt down captains and try to bring down the enemy's bar. There's no real strategy, no formations, and nothing that actually makes it feel like a proper war. You know, if anything, it's just a glorified arena fight with a different coat of paint. Like many things in this franchise, it's wasted potential. The conquest battles could have been an amazing feature, but instead they're just another repetitive distraction in an already bloated game. And bear in mind, Assassin's Creed Odyssey is a game I like a lot. There's a lot about Assassin's Creed Valhalla I'm not a fan of, and shout out to the one guy who gets mad every time I say that. This one is for you. The side content I've gone with in this game is river raids, and honestly it's some of the most tedious, repetitive and just boring stuff I've played. What could have been an exciting high stakes expansion of the already present raiding mechanic just turned into a boring grind with barely any payoff. Now the biggest problem with these river raids is how unnecessarily drawn out they feel. You're forced to keep hitting the same locations over and over just to scrape together enough foreign supplies for upgrades, and those upgrades are pretty underwhelming. To make it worse, locations reset after a cooldown, but nothing actually changes. It's just the same thing again and again on loop. Then there's the AI, which is straight up awful. This game has always had pretty terrible AI. Unlike the main game's raids where you can be somewhat strategic, river raids just throws you into non-stop combat. The enemy AI is hilariously bad, but somehow your Yom's Vikings are even worse. They'll stand around doing nothing in fights, and a lot of the time refuse to help open chests, which sometimes mean you have to restart or ditch the raid entirely. And let's not talk about how inconvenient this game mode is. No saving, no fast travel, no Raven to scout ahead, just pure frustration. If you die, you'll lose everything that you looted, which wouldn't be a big deal if the raids were actually fun, but they're not. Also, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the gear that you get is a reskin or copy and paste of something that you already have. So yeah, at the end of the day, river raids just feels like filler content designed to stretch out playtime. It's repetitive, frustrating, and honestly not worth the effort. When it comes to side content in Assassin's Creed Mirage, there's honestly not a lot to choose from. Unlike previous games that were packed with things to do, Assassin's Creed Mirage keeps things pretty minimal. That's why my biggest issue with Tales of Baghdad is not the quality of the side content, it's that there just isn't enough of them. These short side quests are easily some of the best side content in the game. For some reason they remind me a lot of Assassin's Creed Origins, offering fast self-contained stories that flesh out the city and its people. But the problem is that there's only 6 of them. That's it. In a game that's set in such an interesting historical setting, 6 side stories just does not feel enough. The Tales of Baghdad do a great job of immersing you in the world and adding kind of some personality to the city. Some of them, like helping a desperate merchant, investigating a strange event, or dealing with Baghdad's many inhabitants, are intriguing. But just as you're starting to enjoy them, they're just simply over. Maybe there could have easily been more tales spread out across the districts or even out in the wilderness, but I guess they took the whole back to the roostings quite literally because it feels very short-lived. There's barely any side content in the game to begin with, so it stings even more that something as interesting as Tales of Baghdad is so limited. Okay, now let's go over to Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now, if you are wondering why I sound completely different and more clearer, well, it's because what you just watched and heard for the last 20 minutes was a video that I made many months ago, before I got a new microphone and a new audio interface. But regardless, let's talk about the side content in Shadows. And for this game, I've chosen the Kujikiri side content, which is the worst. Now, at first, this side content totally fooled me. The first few Kujikiri meditations I found were tied directly to Nawe's personal questline. You do this little controller prompt minigame and next thing you know, you're dropped into a 20 to 30 minute story mission. Now these were amazing and I would not change a thing about them. They felt like part of a journey and were these great stories that were told and genuinely worth doing. So naturally I thought, okay, cool, I'm gonna find them all. And yeah, then the rest happened. After those first 4, Kujikiri meditations just devolve into mindless filler. They're scattered around the map like collectible clutter, and all they give you is a single knowledge point. Ubisoft Quebec could have added at least something extra to it, but no, there's nothing. There's no meaningful dialogue, there's not even a little bit of extra lore. It's just the same button pressing sequence minigame over and over again, and with zero payoff. You know, it's like the game forgot why these were interesting in the first place. I get that they were trying to make side content as therapeutic or relaxing as possible, but they did that at the cost of enjoyment, and for that reason it's the worst side content in the game. A close second would be the Kata for Yasuke, but the Kata for Yasuke was at least challenging at times. Kujikiri was just boring. And there we have it. Those are what I would consider the worst side content in the game, with the exception of Assassin's Creed Mirage because, you know, it's not really a bad thing, just a lack of it. Let me know down below what piece of side content you did not like the most from any Assassin's Creed game. I'm interested to see what you say. Also, did you manage to find the image of Nawe hidden throughout the video? If you did, let me know down below. I made it super difficult, so good luck trying to find it. Anyway, if you did enjoy this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And with all that said, I'll see you in the next one.